The morning sun cast long shadows across New Horizons' gleaming cityscape, a testament to human engineering and adaptive design. 12-year-old Arya Zhang stood at her family's living room window, her fingers dancing across a holographic interface that looked like a simple educational game. To the untrained eye, she was just another child playing before school. But beneath her calm exterior lay a mind trained for something far more extraordinary. Outside, the city breathed with a rhythm known only to those who understood its true nature. Every building, every street, every piece of infrastructure held a secret. New Horizon was not just a colony. It was a living, breathing defensive system disguised as a peaceful settlement. The soft hum of quantum generators beneath the streets pulsed with a quiet anticipation. Arya's game was anything but ordinary. Each movement of her fingers triggered complex simulation protocols, running thousands of potential scenarios through her neural interface. Her generation was different. Children raised with an understanding that survival meant more than simple protection. They were the first line of defense, a distributed network of human potential waiting to be activated. In the central command center, deep beneath the city's surface, Commander Elena Rodriguez watched multiple holographic displays. Her eyes tracked Arya's movements, one of thousands of children participating in the morning's preparatory protocols. A slight smile crossed her lips. Years of preparation were about to be tested. The first warning came not as a sound, but as a quantum vibration. Specialized sensors, embedded in the city's core, detected the approach of massive energy signatures. The Imperium's fleet was entering the system, their arrival telegraphed by massive gravitational disturbances that would have been invisible to less advanced civilizations. Arya's game shifted. The colorful educational interface dissolved, replaced by a complex tactical display. Her neural implant synchronized with the city's defensive network, her body becoming a living sensor node. Around her, the apartment began to transform. Walls shifted, revealing reinforced panels. Windows became adaptive shields capable of dispersing massive energy impacts. In schools across the city, similar transformations occurred. Classrooms converted to emergency coordination centers. Playground equipment retracted, revealing advanced communication arrays. Children moved with practiced precision, their training turning a potential disaster into a choreographed dance of survival. Commander Rodriguez's voice echoed through every communication channel. Initiation sequence Alpha 90 activated. All units prepare for comprehensive evacuation and defensive protocol. The city was not preparing to flee. It was preparing to fight. Specialized transport pods began to emerge from hidden compartments in buildings. These were not simple escape vehicles but mobile command centers, each capable of independent operation and communication. Families moved with practiced efficiency, their movements suggesting years of drilled preparation. Arya watched her parents activate their own emergency protocols. Her mother, a quantum communications engineer, began uploading critical data to distributed networks. Her father, a geological defense specialist, coordinated the city's ground-level defensive systems. They moved with a calm precision that spoke of extensive training. Outside, the first plasma bolts from the Imperium's fleet began to streak across the sky. But New Horizon was ready. The city was not a target. It was a trap. As the first wave of energy weapons approached, Arya Zhang smiled. The game was about to begin, and humanity was far from defenseless. The Imperium had no idea what was coming. The underground command center hummed with controlled intensity. Holographic displays covered every surface, each one a window into a different aspect of the colony's defensive strategy. Commander Elena Rodriguez stood at the center of this technological marvel, her hands moving with surgical precision across multiple quantum interfaces. Around her, a team of specialists worked in perfect synchronization. Young analysts, some barely out of their teens, managed complex data streams that would have overwhelmed entire alien command structures. They were not just technicians, they were the living nervous system of humanity's most advanced defensive network. Containment protocols are holding. announced Senior Analyst Marcus Chen, his fingers dancing across a holographic display that looked more like an intricate piece of digital art than a tactical interface. Imperium attack vectors are being systematically redirected. Elena studied the evolving situation. The initial attack had been designed to overwhelm, to crush the human settlement beneath an avalanche of technological superiority. Instead, the colony was absorbing the assault like a living organism, each blow redirected, dissipated, transformed. Outside the command center, the city continued its remarkable transformation. Playgrounds became emergency medical centers. Shopping districts converted into mobile communication hubs. Every civilian was now a critical component of a massive, adaptive defense network. A young girl named Sophia, no more than 8 years old, sat in what appeared to be a standard classroom. Her neural interface connected her to the city's broader defensive system. What looked like a simple educational game was actually a complex tactical coordination interface. Children like her were the distributed intelligence that made human resistance so unpredictable. Redirection complete, Marcus reported. We've channeled their primary energy weapon through our quantum dispersal network. They're essentially firing at their own computational systems now. Elena allowed herself a slight smile. The Imperium had made a critical miscalculation. They viewed children as vulnerabilities. Humanity saw them as its most sophisticated weapon, living, breathing nodes of an adaptive intelligence network. Specialized transport pods began to move through the city's underground network. These were not simple escape vehicles but mobile command centers equipped with advanced defensive capabilities. Families moved with a precision that suggested years of preparation, each individual a potential tactical asset. Generational protocols are engaging, announced Dr. Kwame Osai, the lead neural interface specialist. His life's work was now proving its true value. The neural implants developed under the guise of educational enhancement were showing their real purpose, transforming every human into a potential defensive node. The city itself seemed to breathe. Walls shifted, becoming adaptive shields. Windows transformed into energy dispersal units. What appeared to be a simple colonial settlement was actually a massive living defensive system. Outside, the Imperium's fleet continued its assault. Each weapon discharge was met with a response so complex, so adaptive, that their targeting systems began to fail. The humans were not just defending. They were systematically dismantling the invasion strategy. Full neural network synchronization achieved. Sophia's voice came through the command center speakers. The young girl was now coordinating defensive protocols across multiple city sectors, her computational ability far exceeding traditional military systems. Elena watched the tactical displays. The invasion was turning into something the Imperium could never have anticipated. This was not a battle against a traditional military force. This was a confrontation with an entire species that had transformed survival into an art form. The first wave of the attack was failing, and humanity was just getting started. Dr. Kwame Osei stood before the holographic projection, watching the intricate neural network come to life. What appeared to be a simple diagnostic screen was actually the most advanced communication system ever developed by human intelligence. Each line represented a child, each pulse a communication pathway that defied everything the Imperium understood about biological networks. The neural implants he had spent decades developing were no ordinary technological enhancement. They were the key to humanity's most sophisticated defense mechanism, a living, breathing intelligence network that grew more powerful with each passing moment. In a classroom that was now a tactical coordination center, 14-year-old Zara Rodriguez manipulated quantum-encrypted data streams with her mind. Her fingers never touched a physical interface. Instead, complex mathematical algorithms danced around her, responding to thoughts faster than any computer could process. "Incoming signal pattern detected," Zora murmured, her voice calm despite the complexity of the task. Around her, other children worked with similar focus. Some appeared to be drawing or playing simple games, but each movement was a carefully calculated tactical response. Dr. Osai watched as the children transformed alien communication signals into a massive computational puzzle, where the Imperium saw a straightforward invasion. These young minds saw an intricate system to be dismantled, redirected, and ultimately controlled. Neural synchronization at 87% announced the system's artificial intelligence. But this was no ordinary AI. It was a collaborative intelligence, part machine, part human, growing more sophisticated with each passing second. In the city's central communication hub, Commander Elena Rodriguez observed the remarkable transformation. Children who would have been considered vulnerable in any other civilization were now the most advanced defensive network in galactic history. A young boy named Kai, no more than 10 years old, began to sing. His melody was not just sound but a complex quantum communication protocol. Each note carried encrypted information, redirecting alien tracking systems, creating false communication pathways that would lead the Imperium's forces into elaborate traps. Dr. Sofia Ramirez, the lead psychological warfare specialist, watched in awe. The children were doing more than defending. They were systematically dismantling the Imperium's technological superiority through pure adaptive intelligence. The implants are working beyond our initial projections, Dr. Osai remarked to Elena. They're not just processing information, they're predicting and manipulating potential outcomes faster than any known computational system. Each child was a living, breathing tactical computer. Their neural networks communicated in ways that defied traditional understanding of intelligence. What looked like play was actually a complex defensive strategy. A game of holographic chess became a method of understanding alien tactical thinking. A simple drawing could be a map of potential defensive positions. The Imperium's most advanced scanning technologies began to fail. Where they expected to see a straightforward colonial settlement, they encountered a living, breathing intelligence network that could redirect, confuse, and ultimately control incoming signals. Zara smiled as another wave of alien communication attempts was systematically absorbed and transformed. The children were not just defending. They were learning, adapting, growing more powerful with each passing moment. Dr. Osei realized they had created something far beyond a defensive system. This was a new form of collective intelligence, a quantum leap in human potential that the Imperium could never have anticipated. The invasion was no longer just a battle. It had become a demonstration of humanity's most extraordinary capability. The ability to transform, to adapt, to turn potential destruction into an opportunity for growth. And the children were just getting started. Lieutenant Marcus Chen watched the alien technology twist in on itself with a mixture of scientific fascination and strategic satisfaction. The Imperium's most advanced scanning equipment had become nothing more than an elaborate paperweight, its complex systems now working against their original creators. Each piece of technology the invaders brought became a potential weapon for humanity. What looked like a simple invasion protocol was transforming into a nightmare of technological complexity that defied all known principles of warfare. In the Central Technological Warfare Unit, holographic displays showed the systematic dismantling of the Imperium's technological superiority. Specialized teams worked with surgical precision, their fingers moving across quantum interfaces that looked more like living art than computer systems. Signal redirection complete, announced Senior Analyst Diana Wong. Her voice was calm, almost casual, as if she were reporting something as mundane as the day's weather. Around her, a team of young specialists continued their intricate dance of technological manipulation. The colony's adaptive network was more than a defensive system. It was a living, breathing entity that could absorb, understand, and ultimately control any technological intrusion. Alien communication systems found themselves talking to nothing, their most sophisticated tracking technology seeing only elaborate illusions. A young engineer named Jason Rodriguez manipulated a holographic representation of the Imperium's primary scanning array. With a few precise movements, he transformed the alien technology into a complex puzzle that fed back only the information humanity wanted them to see. "We're not just blocking their signals," Jason explained to a nearby colleague. "We're giving them exactly what they think they want to see. Every piece of information is carefully crafted to lead them exactly where we want them to go." The colony's technological infrastructure was a masterpiece of adaptive design. Walls could become shields. Communication arrays could transform into sophisticated defensive systems. What appeared to be a simple colonization site was actually the most advanced technological trap in galactic history. Dr. Elena Chen, the lead technological warfare specialist, studied the evolving situation with a critical eye. The Imperium had brought what they believed was overwhelming technological superiority. Instead, they found themselves drowning in a sea of adaptive intelligence that could rewrite their own technological principles in real time. Quantum redirection at 92%, announced the colony's central artificial intelligence. But this was no ordinary AI. It was a collaborative intelligence that drew its processing power from every human in the colony, each person a potential computational node. Alien weapon systems began to fail in spectacular fashion. Targeting computers saw phantom targets. Communication arrays received signals that led them in endless loops. Every technological advantage the Imperium believed they possessed was being systematically turned against them. A group of teenage engineers worked in a converted classroom, their neural interfaces allowing them to manipulate alien technology as easily as a musician might play an instrument. What looked like a simple educational space was actually the most advanced technological warfare center in human history. They're using their own technology against themselves, Lieutenant Chen remarked, a hint of professional admiration in his voice. The Imperium's invasion was transforming into a case study of technological failure. Outside, the colony continued its remarkable transformation. Buildings shifted, communication arrays adapted, entire sections of the settlement could reconfigure themselves in milliseconds. This was not just a defensive position. It was a living, breathing technological organism. The invasion was no longer just a battle. It had become a demonstration of humanity's most extraordinary capability. The ability to understand, adapt, and ultimately control any technological challenge. And the Imperium was about to learn a very painful lesson. Dr. Sofia Ramirez adjusted the quantum communication array, her fingers moving with the precision of a surgeon. The holographic displays around her flickered with complex patterns of human and alien communication signals. This was not just a defensive strategy. It was a carefully orchestrated psychological dismantling of an entire Imperial structure. The command center buzzed with an electric intensity. Young analysts worked alongside seasoned specialists, their neural interfaces creating a web of computational and psychological insight that defied traditional understanding of warfare. "Memetic payload prepared," announced Maya Chen, a brilliant young psychologist no older than 25. Her specialty was alien psychological systems, a field that barely existed before humanity's encounter with the Imperium. Each communication signal she prepared was a carefully crafted piece of psychological architecture designed to introduce doubt, confusion, and internal conflict. The broadcast signals carried more than simple information. They were complex psychological algorithms designed to exploit the deepest vulnerabilities of the Imperium's social and military structure. Where traditional warfare sought to destroy physical infrastructure, this was an attack on the very foundation of alien thinking. In a converted classroom that now served as an advanced psychological warfare center, a group of specialists analyzed intricate communication patterns. Holographic displays showed the complex social structures of the Imperium, each connection a potential point of psychological intervention. "We're not just sending messages," Dr. Ramirez explained to a group of young analysts. "We're creating a narrative that will systematically dismantle their entire belief system." Communication signals began to transform. What looked like standard transmission protocols became elaborate psychological traps. Each message was designed to introduce microdoubts, to create hairline fractures in the Imperium's collective consciousness. Lieutenant Marcus Rodriguez watched the psychological warfare unfold. Alien communication channels began to show signs of internal confusion. Military units started to question their orders. Communication protocols became increasingly erratic. The human approach was nothing short of revolutionary. Traditional warfare sought to defeat an enemy through physical means. This was a complete dismantling of an entire civilization's psychological infrastructure. Psychological resonance at 78% announced the colony's artificial intelligence. But this was no ordinary system. It was a collaborative intelligence that drew its understanding from every human in the colony, each person a potential psychological insight generator. Young specialists manipulated communication signals like musical instruments. A simple message could now carry multiple layers of psychological complexity. What appeared to be a straightforward communication was actually a sophisticated psychological algorithm designed to create maximum internal confusion. Dr. Elena Chen studied the evolving situation with scientific fascination. The Imperium had entered this conflict believing in their technological superiority. Instead, they found themselves facing a form of psychological warfare they could never have anticipated. Communication channels of the Imperium began to break down. Military units started to question their fundamental purpose. The very structure of their social and military hierarchy began to show signs of systematic deconstruction. "We're not destroying them," Maya remarked to Dr. Ramirez. "We're giving them the opportunity to see themselves differently." The psychological warfare was more than an attack. It was a complex invitation to reimagine their entire existence. Each communication signal carried the potential for profound transformation. Outside the command center, the colony continued its remarkable adaptation. Buildings shifted. Communication arrays reconfigured. Every aspect of human presence was a potential psychological intervention. The invasion was no longer just a battle. It had become a demonstration of humanity's most extraordinary capability: the ability to understand, to empathize, and ultimately to transform through pure psychological insight. And the Imperium was about to experience a transformation beyond their wildest imagination. The first rays of dawn painted the Earth's command centers in a golden light, revealing a planet transformed. Manufacturing centers hummed with an intensity that defied traditional understanding of industrial production. Scientists from every continent collaborated in milliseconds, their neural networks creating a global intelligence that moved faster than any single civilization could comprehend. In Beijing, Dr. Lai Wei watched as entire manufacturing complexes reconfigured themselves. Robotic systems that once produced consumer goods now created sophisticated defensive technologies. Each machine was more than a tool. It was a living component of a global defensive strategy. Across the planet, humanity moved with a synchronicity that would have been impossible just decades earlier. In Sao Paulo, advanced material scientists worked in perfect harmony with quantum communication experts in New Delhi. In Cape Town, medical researchers developed rapid adaptation protocols that could be implemented globally within moments. Global network synchronization at 96% announced the United Earth Command's artificial intelligence. But this was no ordinary system. It was a collaborative intelligence that drew its processing power from every human on the planet, each person a potential strategic node. Elena Rodriguez studied the global tactical display. What looked like a simple holographic projection was actually a complex representation of humanity's collective defensive capability. Each city was a potential defensive center. Each citizen was a potential strategic asset. The attack on the colonies had triggered something profound. What the Imperium had intended as a devastating strike had instead become the catalyst for humanity's most remarkable transformation. In a converted university lecture hall in Moscow, a team of young strategists worked on adaptive defense protocols. Their neural interfaces allowed them to process complex tactical scenarios faster than any traditional military system. What appeared to be a simple research session was actually a critical component of global defensive strategy. Manufacturing centers across the planet began to produce technologies that defied conventional understanding. Adaptive materials that could transform their molecular structure in milliseconds. Communication systems that could create entire networks out of seemingly random technological components. Dr. Amara Okonkwo, leading the African Technological Adaptation Consortium, watched as her team developed technologies that could adapt to any potential threat. Each prototype was more than a defensive tool. It was a statement of human potential. "We're not just defending," she explained to her team. "We're demonstrating humanity's most extraordinary capability, the ability to transform, to adapt, to turn potential destruction into an opportunity for growth." Global communication networks operated on principles that would have seemed like science fiction mere decades earlier. Neural interfaces allowed instant collaboration across continents. A researcher in Tokyo could work simultaneously with a team in Buenos Aires, their combined intelligence moving faster than any single system could process. The planet had become a single living organism. Each city was a potential defensive center. Each citizen was a potential strategic asset. The Imperium's attack had awakened something profound. A collective intelligence that moved with a speed and adaptability that defied traditional understanding of conflict. Satellite networks reconfigured themselves. Communication arrays transformed. Every piece of human technological infrastructure became a potential defensive mechanism. In the United Earth Command Center, Commander Rodriguez studied the global tactical display. What looked like a simple holographic projection was actually a complex representation of humanity's collective defensive capability. The invasion was no longer just a battle for survival. It had become a demonstration of humanity's most extraordinary capability, the ability to work as a single, adaptive intelligence. And the Imperium was about to witness something unprecedented in galactic history. The first wave of human response emerged not as a traditional military assault, but as a complex, multi-dimensional strategy that defied every known principle of galactic warfare. Evacuation ships transformed before the Imperium's sensors, revealing capabilities that turned the entire concept of defensive technology on its head. Lieutenant Zara Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the adaptive carrier, Horizon's Promise, her hands moving across quantum interfaces that seemed to breathe with living intelligence. Around her, a crew of specialists worked with a synchronicity that blurred the line between human and technological system. "Quantum displacement field at maximum," announced Senior Technical Specialist Marcus Chen. The ship was more than a vessel. It was a living, adaptive defensive platform that could reconfigure itself faster than the Imperium could track. Each evacuation ship carried more than just survivors. They were mobile fortresses, each capable of turning into a devastating strategic asset within milliseconds. The children protected within their hulls were not just passengers. They were the core of a distributed intelligence network that could strike with precision and disappear before the Imperium could respond. Dr. Elena Ramirez monitored the global tactical network from a command center that looked more like an advanced research facility than a traditional military installation. Every light year of space had become a potential battlefield, every moment an opportunity for strategic intervention. The Imperium's tracking systems found themselves confronted with an impossible scenario. Ships that should have been vulnerable transport vessels transformed into complex defensive platforms. Communication networks became labyrinths of adaptive intelligence that could redirect, confuse, and ultimately control incoming signals. Tactical adaptive response at 89% announced the ship's artificial intelligence. But this was no ordinary system. It was a collaborative intelligence that drew its processing power from every human on board, each person a potential computational node. Young strategists worked alongside seasoned commanders, their neural interfaces creating a web of tactical insight that defied traditional understanding of military operations. A teenager could redirect an entire fleet's communication protocol. A child could become a critical node in a complex defensive strategy. The counterattack was not about destruction. It was about demonstration, a comprehensive display of humanity's most extraordinary capability to adapt, to transform, to turn potential annihilation into an opportunity for growth. Specialized communication arrays began to broadcast signals that were more than simple messages. They were complex psychological and technological interventions designed to systematically dismantle the Imperium's ability to coordinate their invasion. Dr. Kwame Osai watched the tactical displays with a mixture of scientific fascination and strategic satisfaction. The neural interfaces developed over decades were showing their true potential. Each human became a living, breathing tactical computer that could process and respond to threats faster than any traditional system. "We're not just defending," Zara remarked to her team. "We're rewriting the entire understanding of strategic engagement." Space itself seemed to become a living battlefield. Ships could merge, separate, reconfigure themselves in milliseconds. Communication networks became adaptive systems that could create entire defensive strategies out of seemingly random technological components. The Imperium's most advanced scanning technologies began to fail. Where they expected to see a straightforward evacuation, they encountered a living, breathing intelligence network that could redirect, confuse, and ultimately control incoming signals. Every light year became a potential point of strategic intervention. Every moment was an opportunity to demonstrate humanity's extraordinary potential for adaptation and survival. The invasion was no longer just a battle. It had become a comprehensive demonstration of humanity's most remarkable capability, the ability to transform potential destruction into an opportunity for unprecedented growth. And the Imperium was about to experience a reckoning beyond their wildest imagination. The final phase of humanity's response was not about survival. It was about transformation. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood in the central observation deck, watching the complex dance of human adaptive technology unfold across multiple star systems. What the Imperium had intended as a devastating attack had become the most profound moment of human evolution in galactic history. Every rescued child carried within them a promise of something extraordinary. They were not just survivors. They were the architects of a new understanding of intelligent life. Neural interfaces that had begun as simple educational tools had transformed into the most sophisticated communication and adaptive systems ever conceived. Generational Transformation Protocol activated, announced the United Earth Command's artificial intelligence. But this was no ordinary system. It was a collaborative intelligence that drew its essence from every human experience, every moment of adaptation, every spark of resilience. In orbital research stations, scientists worked alongside the rescued children. Each young mind was a living laboratory of potential, their neural interfaces revealing capabilities that defied previous understanding of human potential. What looked like simple play became complex problem-solving. What appeared to be games were actually advanced strategic simulations. Dr. Kwame Osai watched a group of children manipulate complex quantum systems with the ease of drawing pictures. Their minds moved between technological interfaces and creative expression with a fluidity that would have seemed impossible just years earlier. The Imperium's attack had triggered something profound. Instead of breaking humanity, they had provided the ultimate catalyst for evolutionary transformation. Each colony became a node of a larger, more complex human network. Each child became a potential point of galactic understanding. Technological adaptation centers spread across human settlements, transforming every location into a potential center of innovation. Manufacturing systems that once produced consumer goods now created technologies that could adapt to any potential challenge. Communication networks operated on principles that would have seemed like science fiction mere decades earlier. "We're not rebuilding," Dr. Sofia Ramirez explained to a group of young researchers. "We're creating an entirely new understanding of intelligent life." Planetary defense systems began to transform. Cities became adaptive networks that could reconfigure themselves in milliseconds. Every piece of human infrastructure became a potential defensive and creative mechanism. The line between technology and living system became increasingly blurred. The rescued children became more than survivors. They were the first generation of a new type of human intelligence, a collaborative, adaptive species that could transform potential challenges into opportunities for growth. Galactic communication networks began to shift. Human adaptive technologies started to redefine the very principles of interstellar communication. What the Imperium had seen as a simple colonial settlement was now becoming a complex, adaptive civilization that could respond to challenges in ways no other species could comprehend. Dr. Elena Rodriguez studied the tactical displays, seeing not just a defensive strategy, but the blueprint of a new type of intelligent life. Each communication signal, each technological adaptation was a step towards something unprecedented in galactic history. The orbital research stations became living laboratories of human potential. Children worked alongside scientists, their neural interfaces creating webs of understanding that moved faster than any traditional computational system. A simple conversation could become a complex problem-solving session. A moment of play could reveal breakthrough technological insights. "We are not what we were," Commander Marcus Chen remarked to his team. "We are becoming something entirely new." The Imperium's attack had been intended as an act of destruction. Instead, it had become the moment of humanity's most profound transformation. Each rescued child carried within them the potential to rebuild, to resist, to ultimately redefine the very understanding of intelligent life. The stars had witnessed many invasions, but they had never seen anything like humanity's response. This was not an end. This was a beginning.